Morning today. Well, it's almost noon. We have a little fun with y'all today. If we're in a classroom, the way I would go about this is I would hand you out an outline, and I'd cover the subjects from A to Z, and you'd fill in the blanks, and then I'd give you some assignments, and we review it and do some homework. We're having a little fun though today, and I see some of the most ridiculous things posted by Christians on Facebook because they don't know how to determine whether a passage of scripture is culturally conditioned or not. And I got a sheet here that I normally hand out. It's a list of 50 different passages that you have to mark whether it's permanent or temporary, okay? And I have handed this out to hundreds and hundreds of students. I have never, ever had anybody come back consistent with all the right answers. And the reason for that is because they don't have any hermeneutical principles to determine whether something is culturally conditioned or temporary, okay? Now, after I teach them the principles, invariably when I re-give them the test, they all come back with the same answers, okay? But most of the time, people just tell me, well, that's what my pastor taught, that's the tradition of our church, or that's what I heard, or this seems to make sense, but nothing consistent in terms of how to determine whether a passage is culturally conditioned or not. What do I mean by that? Okay, in the Bible it says in, let's see, where is that at? In Romans 16, it says, greet one another with a holy kiss. Now, what's a holy kiss? Okay, I know about a lot of different kind of kisses, which I'm not going to mention, but what is a holy kiss? And why does it say greet one another with a holy kiss? Okay, now, whenever you deal with culturally conditioned passages, you have to first and foremost determine two things. What did that passage mean to those people who it was addressed to in that historical, cultural context? Second thing, okay, and you can learn to do that by, there's a lot of sources out there, commentaries and Bible encyclopedias and different things where you can discover what that culture meant at that time. And then the second thing you need to do is, what does that particular passage imply today? Okay, so those are the first two things you got to do. Now you have one here, greet one another with a holy kiss. Okay, so now you got to determine four things. Is this repeatable? Is it not repeatable? Is just the principle repeatable? Or is it the principle and the practice? Then if it is the principle and the practice, you have to determine, is it the complete practice or is it only a partial practice? Okay, so let's just look at it for a minute. Greet one another with a holy kiss, okay? What did that imply in the culture of the New Testament? And notice it said holy kiss, not just any kind of kiss. It didn't have any kiss with sexual overtones or any type of flirtation involved. It's just a normal way of greeting. I lived in Europe for many years, and they would come and kiss you. It meant nothing. It was just a welcoming, a good greeting. That's all it is. I think in South America, if you want to greet someone, what are they? Bear hug. Today, what do we do in the United States? We fist punch because of COVID or whatever, elbow punch, or guys jumping up on their chests on each other. All it is, it's a warm, welcoming embrace. That's what it meant back then. That's how they did it back then in that historical cultural context. Now, is this repeatable? Well, yeah. I mean, here's the way you determine that. And the hermeneutics is very important. If something is stated in the Old Testament and it has not been nullified in the New Testament or changed or altered, it is still applicable for today. It's very important that you recognize that, okay? Some things have been changed. In fact, in the Old Testament, it says for sons and daughters and children to respect and honor your parents. Okay, that principle is still applicable today. However, the penalty for not doing that has changed in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, if you didn't obey your parents, they take you out to the gate and stone you to death. Today, they deal with it a lot more gracefully. Otherwise, our morgues would be full of teenagers, you know? So you got to determine whether or not something has changed or has been altered, okay? Greet one another with a holy kiss. Okay, so the principle is basically an embrace. What is the practice? Well, in the practice, that's what they did. The practice today is a little different, okay? So the principle still implies. Okay, so in that case, the principle and a partial practice. Okay, now let's look at some other ones. I'll give you one as an assignment. And in 1 Corinthians, it says that women, and let me just read it to you so it's not coming from me. It says that, but I want you to understand that Christ is the head of every man. Okay, speaking about an authoritarian structure. And the man is the head of a woman, and God is the head of Christ. Every man who has something on his head while praying or prophesying disgraces his head. But, there's that contrast connective, every woman who has her head uncovered while praying or prophecy disgraces her head. For she is one and the same with her whose head is shaved. Okay? For if a woman does not cover her head, let her also have her hair cut off. But if it is disgraceful for a woman to have her hair cut off or her head shaved, let her cover her head. Now, is that permanent or temporary? I'm not going to give you the answer just yet. I have the answer. I know what it is. But I see a lot of people misapplying this passage of Scripture because they don't know how to determine whether it's hermeneutically permanent or temporary. Okay, I see a lot of women wear head covering when they go in church. Some do it for various reasons. Okay, some even do it to be fashionable. Some do it to, well, I want to show authority that I'm under my husband's authority, and they go home and beat him to death with a frying pan. You know, we have to determine, why were women shaving their head? What was the significance of that back then? Okay? Why did the Apostle Paul tell them they ought to wear something on their head when they prayed or when they were in church? Okay? So we got to, what did it mean back then? What does it mean now? Now, is it repeatable? Is it not repeatable? What is the principle involved here? And if you read further on in 1 Corinthians, it tells you. Okay, very interesting for women. Okay, but is it just a principle or is it a practice? Now, is it the complete practice? What do we mean by complete practice? Well, back then when women wore something ahead, it wasn't just a little hat. It was a complete parka, like what Muslim women wear. Okay, so you have to determine what's applicable. The principle in the practice. It's not applicable today, not principle or practice, just a principle, or the principle and a partial practice. Okay? So I'm going to give you a little fun. Women, if you want to, you can go to this passage in Scripture and give me your answer. Now, please don't embarrass yourself. Okay, the Bible says, study to show yourself approved as a workman who need not be ashamed, accurately handling the word of truth. Okay, so we got to be real careful here. Even in the Old Testament, if you committed incest with one of your family members, they would kill you. They would stone you to death. But yet in 1 Corinthians, we see the son committing incest with his stepmother, and instead of being killed, he is what? Excommunicated. Then he's brought back into church later on. Okay, so you have to determine very carefully what that passage meant in its literal historical context. What did it mean then? What does it mean today? Is that practice repeatable? Has that passage been altered? Has it been changed in the New Testament? Or has it been left alone? Once you determine that, then you can make a confident decision whether this is permanent and temporary, and then make application. Well, let me another example. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. People have actually done that. If your eye causes you, pluck it out. People have actually done that. What did that mean in that cultural context? What does it mean today? What's applicable, the principle or the principle and the practice? The complete practice? Okay, so this is how you determine, and I'll have a little fun with you today. Please, by all means, send your comment. I won't embarrass you, I promise. But it's a lot of fun doing this. Maybe next time I'll share a little bit on how to deal with figurative speeches, which is it's also a lot of fun, you know. Okay, you all have a great day. God bless you all. Stay in the Word.